27th. It's always a delight to have you join me, Kem Chadorin, on Smart Means Business. We are live on Smart 24. Thank you so much for coming in. We always insist that we seize the day with a lot of positivity, look at whatever good can come out of it. Of course, what do we attack them, knowing that we have if not this morning. I hope you are well and you will be able to carry. Let me just give you just a sneak peek into what we are going to be talking about. Today we will have a continuation looking at transparency, on accountability. We've had lots of stories coming in all on corruption. We would want to find out the role, really, how does it come down to accountability, and also highlight the couple of people or ministries that have been involved in this. Next, we will be looking at, of course, the infrastructure when it comes down to the different what has been happening all throughout. We'll have sort of like a recovery with you, lots of stories coming in from the side, as well as what is happening, of course, within the news coming in, trickling in. We've had not only just this one time, but within the past last couple of years, we've had our issues. It's a love and hate relationship with Kenya. Right now, we have our milk as well. Having had some trouble, we may have losses for the milk, for the dairy industry, because they have put a ban as well, just closed the borders on us. So we have our farmers saying, what is happening? Can you organize yourselves? But this is why, at the same time, there's a push for agro-industrialization, because you have other voices as well coming in and saying, if we had those particular linkages to the factories that can be able to turn our milk into powder, something would be better rather than begging some of the countries next door. A lot has been said about that, and later on from 8 to 8:30 we will be joined, of course, by Mr. John Mary Sekate, who will be giving us the closure. Remember, we had him on Monday. He is the national coordinator for the National Association of Social Workers Uganda, and he will be giving us a closure of mental health, the solutions. Remember, on Monday during the same time, 8 to 8:30, we had a talk about how to identify. He talked about going from mild to moderate to severe along that particular yardstick, if I may call it. And what we talked about on Monday is, are you able to recognize, are you able to identify when you are having mental health challenges? Even if it is from the mild stage, are you able to recognize? What stood out in our conversation then was persistent. The moment you can't sleep persistently, the moment you are having frustration thoughts persistently, the moment you are fatigued and are not able to do or function simple things that you are supposed to do on a daily persistently, then please take note, reach out to someone for help, because that shows you are having mental health challenges. So coming in today from 8 to 8:30, he will join us again and let us know what can we do to ensure that we are on top in our mental health and we don't have any specific challenges. He will let us know. Now, coming in Business Insight from 9 to 10, we will have the discussion. We'll have Mr. Robert Gulova, who comes in from Pelum, coming in to tell us about what agroecology is all about and how this can be linked to food security, food safety, as well as curbing down the rejections, the rampant increasing rejections that have been happening with Uganda's fresh produce products. Do you know that right now more than 50% of Uganda's fresh produce is actually wasted? Not only wasted from the farm because of mishandling, because of lack of storage facilities, but even from the farm to the market, to the airport. there is a huge problem. By the time it gets there, it has been compromised. And then by the time it gets to the final destination, some of these European countries or the Saudi Arabia countries, in most cases, it is being rejected because of the quality, because of the presence of harmful chemicals. So we had a little bit of insight as well from him in what can be done in regards to that. But right now, let's get back into our topic today. Accountability. From last year, of course, the hot cake, the scandal then was the ministers that were brought to book. That is Goreti Chitutu, the Karamoja, Minister of Karamoja Affairs, as well as Agnes Nandutu, whose heads had to roll because of the scandal of the iron sheets. That took over. It was a storm. But it was also welcomed by civil service, the CSOs, because in most cases they were saying, we have been pushing for this, that the heads must roll. And these heads are really the top officials that have been into this. Of course, implicated into this was a huge network of people that had been part and parcel of the bonanza. It was quote unquote called the bonanza because it was almost like a party mode whereby some of these the roofing materials that were meant to be given to the beneficiaries in Karamoja district were instead parceled out on a gift and no-who basis by these ministers. Implicated, of course, were the Vice President, Prime Minister, and so many others. Now, civil society organizations were, of course, very happy about it, but then there was a lot of skepticism as well, because the majority were saying, we've seen this. This is, Chitutu is actually a sacrificial lamb. We want to see that this goes the whole mileage. In most cases, we've had scenarios whereby the majority of people are taken in, and of course, people as well keep murmuring behind the doors saying that there are so many others that were part of this racket, can you please bring them out? But one gets to take the fall for that. So most of the times what is happening when it comes down to accountability these days, especially in regards to corruption, that has been the say, that has been the topic that we would want all of them lined up in front and give them sentences, let them be sentenced, and let them not only be sentenced, but let there be a refund of whatever they took. Of course, a couple of weeks back, we also saw that police detained 3 MPs. A lot has been going on social media, looking at some of the monies that were put within their households. A very, very terrible situation happening there. But this is not the first time. It is not the first time. All throughout the years, we've seen quite a lot of really huge amounts of money being caught in people's houses. We had a case some time back, of course, in regards to Salman, when they ransacked his home. They've really found out quite a lot of huge monies. Now, when it comes down to that, the rationale behind that is, of course, the fact that most of them cannot put these monies into the bank because they will be investigated. They will find out where is the source of this money. Any huge monies that are banked, of course, you do have a trail to show for it. So that is why still it's surprising, rudimentary, because it takes you back as well. Some of these monies are still being hidden within the under the mattresses and under the beds, as has been said, and within the cupboards of some of these people's homes. But just getting back to talk about some of these, it is very unfortunate that others are saying, of course, it's being said out in the news that this is not the only minister that is going to be held accountable. There are a couple of other ministers as well. Of course, the Anti-Corruption Court remanded Namuju, Honorables Namuju, Akamba, and Mutembuli to Luzira prison on corruption charges. Now, what comes out is, are these as well, are these scapegoats, are these sacrificial lambs? Scapegoats? Not maybe, because I think they had a hand in it, but sacrificial lambs, maybe you could as well. The reality about it, it comes down to, will they go the entire mile? Will they go the entire mile? Will they be sentenced? Will they be bound, honor bound, and legally bound to return the monies? Most are saying that it does not make any sense to give them 1 or 2 years to serve time, and then still these monies are not brought back. But when we come down, still let's look at some of what had been said within his nation address. It was State of the Nation address. What the president said is quite a lot of money actually is lost by Uganda. He says Uganda, the country, loses up to 10 trillion to thieves every year. 10 trillion to thieves every year. And he even had, he broke down the types of thieves into 3 classes. You have those ones who are dishonest. You have those ones, of course, who make mistakes. And this has happened before, and a couple of others. You have those ones that basically are intentional. And he even highlighted that, unfortunately, news has been coming all throughout to him, highlighting top officials about their involvement in some of these scandals, way before it comes out into the media, way before we even get to give it out to you. But also much more, what was surprising to him as well and very painful is that within his own circles, when it comes to State House operatives and State House officials, it has been, of course, insinuated, and many have even, one of the officials was caught because in most cases they ask for bribes just to enable a meeting between investors and the president. This has been, of course, in the news. It's common knowledge. It's all out there. And he's just getting wind of it and beginning to act on it. So Uganda has been highlighted 3rd place among very, very corrupt place. They actually termed it, the corruption is on a grand scale. It is not small. And yesterday, we talked about it as well on Smart Means Business. When it comes down, are they stealing 100 million, 300 million, or 200? No, they aren't. It's in billions. It's in billions, 1 billion, 2 billion, going further high. The more they get used to this and run scot-free, unfortunately, the higher the money is stolen gets into. So this is something that is serious. We've had not only the internal gaps and the call and the outcry internally, but of course you have the pressures as well coming in from different stakeholders, international stakeholders, saying, you know what, if you want to have partnership with us as Uganda, please, you must clean up. You must clean up your system. You must have a zero stance towards corruption, as well as have something done. Not the polishing that has been going on the surface, but dig deeper and get down into some of these. Otherwise, Uganda will not be able to access a lot of financing or the financing needed if it doesn't clean up its ship, because clearly this has been going on for a while. Now let me break it down from the 10 million that the president says we lose every year. Uganda loses every year to thieves, as he called it. If the 10 trillion came in, it would be able to do quite a lot, because that's what he said, 10 trillion to thieves every year. Getting back into the budget 2024-25, looking at it, if this was saved, it would be able to account for agro-industrialization, take care of that, because agro-industrialization took 1.88 trillion. It would be able to take care of private sector development, which came in at 2.023 trillion. And as well, it would be able to take care of integrated transport infrastructure within this budget, which came in at 4.989 trillion. And it would also be able to look at 2.4 trillion, which came down, broken down into 100 billion for Emyoga Circles, as well as 50 billion from Microfinance Support Center. Now, all that would be taken care of if the thieves were not taking the 10 billion that the president is talking about. This is not a laughable matter. This is something I think that needs to be attacked clearly. The president has re-echoed his threats against the corrupt and told the nation in his own word, as he tries to use the local dialect to make sure that everyone understands, Ababi Bafude. That is what he said, Ababi Bafude, meaning thieves are going to die. And he insisted that his government is going to crush those who plunder national resources. And of course, the talk has been coming in on those thieves that crash, that are going to be crushed. Most have been saying that he should start with the immediate circles, because right now, as we get to see with what is happening, the MPs, Parliament, other parliamentarians have, of course, been highlighted, and the State House unit has probed others, so many other officials, same as the IGG, looking at some all through from last year. But what is as worrying is that even as it's talking about we're going to crush them, is of course he should be able to look at the inner circle, who is next to him. He should be able to look at some of the MPs within his own camp, because most of them as well, even the 3 implicated ones, were from his camp. The others as well were top officials, and these are persons that he has chosen, people that he relates to. So a lot of cleaning is actually needed when it comes down to cleaning up. Now, whether or not this year's threat is going to be different is something that we will be looking at. Whether it is going to be different is something that many are looking at, because it's not going to be, it's getting the news is getting tighter and tighter. But for how long is that tightness going to be? That is the most thing on most people's minds. How long is that news going to be tight? Last week we had, of course, the Speaker of Parliament getting out into Lwengo and talking about giving them assurance that the President has had their cry and everything should be okay. If she ate with you, then what's the problem? So we see quite a loosening of the noose. It was tight, but from what she is talking about, it's getting looser and looser. And these are some of the things that come into play. How long is this news going to be tight? Are heads actually going to roll, or it is just a game on the top? Let's see how far this will go and how long this will go, and whether it's going to be effective. And that's what we'll be reporting on later on, especially even in the coming weeks. Everyone is going to be tracking this. That has been it. The undertone for this discussion today, the 27th of June, is really accountability. How long is this noose of corruption going to be tight? Is it going to be loosened along the way? Is there going to be eventual sentencing? Is there going to be a refund of the monies that have been taken? That's it. But right now, let's get into press review and find out what the papers are saying. Coming in your new vision, we've got building permits, district probed over corruption, Mitiana physical planner charged over bribe. And this is now releasing as many skeletons as possible. You have persons actually coming in and saying you've had that. Of course, it's still a hot topic right now, from the Uganda Investment Authority being all part and parcel of some of these, and coming out and saying, you know what, we took this, by the way, we took these monies, but we are returning them. This is opening up a couple of wardrobes, and skeletons are being unleashed from what is being seen. Museveni warns against politics of identity. The politics of identity is wrong politics, and we dismiss ethnic politics as backward. That's what he says. Come sample tasty pastries at a bride and groom expo. For those who are interested in that particular niche, please do so. Preparations to celebrate Museveni's legacy in high gear. The Director of Mobilization for the NRM, Rosemary Nansivuga-Seninde, has unveiled plans to celebrate the legacy of President Yoweri Museveni during a function expected to take place at Kololo Independence Ground on July 7th. A lot happening. Now, when it comes down to building the permits, the district cities probed overgraft. Of course, we know that this is just a part and parcel of what has been happening in the Lubigi. And when something like that happens, whether it is the evictions, the immediate surprise evictions that happened, of course, and then the contradictions that were happening between NEMA and all the other key stakeholders, definitely something comes in like this. Most of the persons affected by that were saying, but we have been paying Busulu to the Buganda land board. We were given particular authorization to come in and put our buildings here. So why, out of all these decades, not only 1 year or 2 years, but decades, are you coming up right now? And of course, you had the different officials coming in and saying, if you see a wetland, you know what a wetland looks like, why are you building there? And then the affected persons are saying, but why did you allow us to come in? So it's a ping-pong sort of relationship. But in today's paper, the root causes of building collapses were poor quality bricks, deviation from design, unsafe work methods, poor steel, poor concrete, and old age, among others. They're beginning now to look at different constructions in Kampala. Out of the 5,642 properties assessed by the Buildings Board in 2021, only 22.7% were compliant with the standards. Actually, a couple of years back, we had lots and lots of buildings falling and trapping people and killing people. But with addressing compliance, we've seen quite a lot of ebbs. With 1 minute after a building falls, it's up, then it goes down, nothing happens after the next couple of, maybe a month or so, and then another building comes in. So a lot, and this happens as well when you look at NEMA, because it has been cited as well in laxity, in compliance. Why come and evict after decades and decades, over 30 decades in time? Same cuts across to different places, as we are looking at the buildings right now. Why Museveni declined to sign the appropriation bills, how MPs tampered with the budget, and the AG basically explains the impasse. NRM officials probed over human trafficking. Officials from the Office of the National Chairman of the NRM are under probe over allegations of scamming Ugandan students in the Iran scholarship program. A lot of rotten tomatoes coming out into the open all over, wherever you get to see. Residents battle to save Kijabijo wetland. That one is also in play. Minister orders fresh arrest of businessman over evictions. This move comes after Gomba residents petition State House. That was another person coming in, because the minister, Sam Mayanja, accused Moses Kazibwe of using money to torment and evict the poor people of the Abibanja. It is wrong for Kazibwe to use his wealth against the poor people. Why would he do such a thing? That's also some news coming in. Namava Industrial Park, not a forest reserve, the court has ruled. And so many people had talks about this. Beware of fake priests, the Archbishop Semogere sends. What next for Kenya as Ruto declines to sign the finance bill? Ruto sent condolences to the families of those who lost their lives. Having reflected on the continuing conversation around the content of the finance bill of 2024, I will decline to assent to it. That is a firm stand from him. Still talking about refugees. Refugees stretch Yumbe health services to breaking point. Not only the health sector is being stretched, but of course the environment is being degraded. A lot comes into hand when it comes to them. Let's get down back to this as well. Within your daily monitor, we are looking at, did Kenya riots spark internet disruptions? Remember yesterday we talked about it from the day prior, later on in the evening till today. We are still having particular concerns in regards to accessing the internet. It's been quite slow in most cases. Some of the others, persons and reports coming in on social media say, even within our own circles, that we are not, it's very slow. They cannot be able to tap into some of the group meetings that they've had to. And of course, there is that connection right now being brought in, just as we insinuated yesterday. Did Kenya riots spark internet disruptions? Theories swirl around banning of Uganda House in Nairobi. Remember, we also mentioned that, talking about, some of the Kenyans are not happy. And these are just really, we the talk is back and forth. Is this true? And right now you have different theories come up. While there's extensive damage to the property, we are grateful there were no reported fatalities or serious injuries that have been identified so far. It's also important to note that none of the diplomatic or consular staff were in the building at the time the fire broke out. This is Vincent Bajiri, the permanent secretary under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, giving us that particular consolation. Why, when Kenya sneezes, Uganda gets a cold? Why is that happening? You know, with about 80% imports coming through Mombasa port, this places Kenya as a major gateway for Uganda's transit cargo. Definitely any interruption in Kenya that affects a flow of cargo, some of which are key raw materials without which industries in Uganda cannot operate, this has an adverse effects on Uganda's economy. And indeed, Kenya riots trucks stuck at the border. The trucks destined for Kenya parked at a trading center on Toro Malaba Road as drivers feared the repercussions following today's deadly protests yesterday, as well as for the ensuing days. And this queue, as of yesterday, I think was at 5 kilometers. The queue was that long. But we also had quite a number of people. Jomo Kenyatta International Airport was packed to the brim with lots of people trying to flee Kenya. Not so good news coming in. But back to accountability, budget graft probe entangles more MPs and parliament clerks. A police investigation into 164 billion graft scandal involving inflated payments to cooperatives has implicated 5 clerk assistants and several legislators, including the House Budget Chair, House Budget Committee Chair. So let all the rotten tomatoes, be exposed. Let all the skeletons be exposed, and let there be a refund as well. We cannot just look at it from one angle. Government considers family planning, funding options amidst donor cuts. If nothing is done about cleaning up, definitely there are going to be more cuts of that nature. Then UPC asked government to resettle victims of Lubigi eviction, and of course how big cars impact others in a crash within this particular. Ask the mechanic, why does my car slow down or stop when the engine is running? Get your daily monitor, get your vision, and look through quite a lot of wonderful news coming in to let you know what is happening nationally, regionally, as well as internationally. We will be moving on, but first let's take a short break and we'll be right back after this.
Smart 24, driving business.